Hi.
Just a second.
Hi, Jane. Hi. I'm trying to get the sound to work.
Okay. Can you hear us? There we go.
Like that.
We're not doing it.
It's
Hello? It's great.
Who's got the sound on?
Okay, can you hear us?
Yes.
Charles, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, so we're doing it through the phone.
yeah.
Okay, so shh. Run YouTube.
You can't get it through.
No, not because he got the feedback.
Why isn't it coming through that?
Wait, I left it from
I
there.
know. But the thing-
I know we're muted while we
Make
got
that-
feedback. They haven't started yet, I guess.
Seven o'clock.
Not quite. I think it'll get bigger once it comes up. There we go. So you should be on. Now, the question is, can we do this? Or not?
That's good. Leave it.
Yeah.
Hey, Jane.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me, Charles?
Yes, he said the record. Okay.
The sound. Oh, you can see.
Go ahead, Jane.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're
About-
so glad that you're joining us this evening for our Shabbat service. When God was about to give the Torah to Israel, God summoned the people and said to them, "My children, I have something precious that I would like to give you for all time, if you will accept my Torah and observe my commandments." The people then asked, "Master of the universe, what is that precious gift that you have for us?" The Holy One said, "It is the world to come." The people of Israel answered, "Show us a sample of the world to come." And the Holy One said, "The Sabbath is a sample of the world to come, for the world will be one long Shabbat." Please join us in the singing of Hine Matov. Hine Matov, umanayim shebe'achim gam yachad. Hine Matov, umanayim shebe'achim gam yachad. How good it is,
How good it is,
how sweet it is
how sweet it is
to be together on this day. How good it is,
how good it is,
how sweet it is
how sweet it is
to be together on this day. Hine matov umanayim shebe'achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim shebe'achim gam yachad. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. Shalom aleichem, How good it is.
How good it
How
is.
sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together
on this day. How good it is.
How good it
How
is.
sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together on this day.
הנה מה טוב ומדעים שבעתיד גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומדעים שבעתיד גם יחד. The purpose of prayer is to be brought to God's attention, to be listened to be understood by God, not to know God, but to be known to God. To pray is to behold life not only as a result of a divine concern, for the ultimate aspiration of humanity is not to be a master, but an object of God's knowledge. To live in the light of divine countenance, to become a thought of God. This is the true career of human beings. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Herschel. Because lighting candles can be understood as the last act of work we do on Friday, there exists a custom in many homes to light the candles and draw your hands toward yourself 3 times in a circular motion before covering your eyes and reciting the blessing. When you open your eyes, the light has been transformed from the light of the week to the light of Shabbat. Fun facts. Because of its home-based nature and Judaism's patriarchal roots, candle lighting has, over the centuries, become one of the few ritual practices traditionally dominated by women. However, the great 12th century rabbi and scholar Maimonides writes in his legal compendium Mishnah Torah that both men and women are obligated to ensure that a candle is lit in the home and obligated to bless before lighting. So friends, by whatever gender you may identify, if any, let's get lit. I'd now like to welcome Fran Olick to be our Shabbos queen and light the Sabbath candles for us on this Shabbat.
Go ahead.
Darkness falls about me, comforting and a bit frightening. It harbors both dreams and demons. Yet I stand here not to enhance the dark, but to kindle the light, not to close my eyes forever, but to open them this once. I stand amongst the dark and bring the light, fourth light, fragile, flickering light, the only light I know, the only light I can bear. I bring it, yet it is not mine. I kindle it and see it, not me. I am only the light bearer. Where the world is dark, with illness, we kindle the light of healing. Where the world is bleak with suffering, let me kindle the light of caring. Where the world is dimmed by lies, the kindled light will bring the truth.
May I be worthy.
Why I am
May
not.
I be worthy.
May I be worthy
of this honor,
of this honor as I strike the match and kindle the lights, the flame that illumines the heart of all the world. Blessed is the one beyond light and dark, by whose power and
we stand.
Effectively
Sanctified.
life with
That's
the midst of the festival lights.
Good job. Nope, we didn't get that one. One more.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, we got it. Okay.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness surrounds us and reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light for the world. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishonu b'mitzvotav v'tivanu l'chag hakneh shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, eternal, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallowed us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik v'tzivanu lahadlik
Shalom Aleichem is one of the best known and most beloved of all the Shabbos hymns. Its simple words are a greeting to the angels of peace who come to dwell with us on Shabbat. The Hebrew word malach actually means messenger, and it is used in the Tanakh for both heavenly and earthly emissaries. All of us on Shabbat can become malachei shalom, or messengers of peace to one another as we share our inner quiet and joy in this day. Please join us in singing Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. B'melech, B'melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. B'melech, B'melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. La 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 Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon. B'melech, B'melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sechem Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon. B'melech, B'melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. La 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 la.
Dear God, as I pray day after unpredictable day, may the voice of my soul spring forth from my lips. May I turn to you, God, in tears, in laughter, and in song, and may my prayers be answered. Amen. Lecha Dodi is the heart and soul of Kabbalat Shabbat, composed around 1548 by Rabbi Shlomo Halevi Alkabetz. Lecha Dodi likens the arrival of Shabbat to the arrival of a beloved and honored guest. Alkabetz composed the song as an acrostic with the first letter of each stanza spelling out his own name, Shlomo HaLevi. Lecha Dodi reflects the practice of Safed Kabbalist who used to go into the fields on Friday afternoon to meet the Sabbath Queen in meditation and in song. This practice was based on the Talmudic account of how the sages welcome Shabbat. Please join us now in singing Lecha Dodi. Shamo v'zachor v'tibor echad, Hishme'anu elav echad, Adonai echad, U'shamo echad, Hashem l'temer v'letil la 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 lechad. Likrat Shabbat lekuvan nelecha, ki mekor habracha, nerosh nikidem nesucha, somat nazeh b'makas Shabbat ki la 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 lecha. Hitorei, kiva oreich kumi uri, shir daveri, kavod Adonai halayim, bigla la 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 Oi v'shalom ateret ba'ala, gam b'simcha u'b'tzola, toch emunei am segula. Oi kala, la 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 la. Open my eyes, God. Help me to perceive what I have ignored, to uncover what I have forsaken, to find what I've been searching for. Remind me that I don't have to journey far to discover something new, for miracles surround me and blessing and holiness abound, and you are near. Amen. Yitgadol v'yitkadash Shamei Rabbah.
Amen.
Hayede kol bet Yisrael. Vitromam Vidnase Vidhada Vidhale Vidhalal Shemay de Kudisha Rechuleila Mimchol Birchata V'shirata. Bless the love that joins us, the spirit, the shared intention that creates our community. Blessed our traditions, the God of our ancestors steeped in holiness and ceremony, the ark sheltering Torahs which teach, challenge, and demand interpretation. Blessed our Reformed Jewish theology, nourishing the holy flame within, urging each of us toward creative understanding, opening paths to participation, grounded in our ancient tradition. Let these paths lead us to learning new traditions and the increasing appreciation of and thankfulness for the beauty and the holiness that surround us. In the ancient temple in Jerusalem, a priest would greet the first appearance of the morning sun with the exclamation, "Praise Adonai, source of all being." This formula, found in the Tanakh, was later adopted as an appropriate way to summon a congregation to worship. The reply of the congregation, "Praise be Adonai, source of all blessings forever." Please join us in our call to worship, the Baruch Hu. La 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 la. Praise be to God, to whom all praise is due. Praise be to God, to whom all praise is due, now and forever. O God, you are as near to us as the very air we breathe, yet farther than the farthermost star. We yearn to reach you. We seek the light and warmth of your presence. So we say you are near, we are lonely and alone. Oh, let our desire to be so strong that it will tear the veil that keeps you from our sight. Let your light release our darkness and reveal the glory and joy of your presence. When we recite the Via Hafta, we speak of our love for God, but when we sing the Ahavat Olam, the words tell us of God's love for us. Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Ahavat Torah u'mitzvot, u'mishpatim batim, u'tanu lemadetah. Okay, Adonai Eloheinu, Yisraelu v'chumenu, Nasiya b'chekecha. B'nishma t'dei Toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha, le'olam poroket. Kihem chayenu, yorech yameinu, ahem v'heket
The Torah is a tapestry which can adorn the days in which we dwell. Let us embrace it and make it our own. Weave its text into the texture of our lives. Its teachings sustain us. Its beauty delights us when we open our eyes to its splendor. It is not a mystery far beyond our reach. It is not in heaven beyond our grasp. It is as close to us as we allow it to be. On our lips, in our heart, integral to our deeds. Let us study its words, fulfill its commands, and make its instruction our second nature. It is a tangible gift of God's love. Let us weave its text into the texture of our lives. Please join us in the watchword of our faith, the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai
You shall love the Lord your God with all your mind, with all your strength, with all your being. These words which I command you on this day upon your heart. Teach them faithfully to your children. Speak them in your home and on your way, when you lie down, when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand, that they be a symbol before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house.
Please read together. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all of your might. And these words which I command you this day shall ever be in your heart. You shall teach them to your children, recite them when you stay at home or when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand, and let them serve as symbols on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates. Thus you shall remember to do all of my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Who is like you, O God, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, working wonders? Your children witnessed your sovereignty, the sea splitting before Moses and Miriam. This is our God, they cried. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from the hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, our redeeming Israel. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up, O guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel for your name's sake, and be our help. Shield us and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow, and distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Adonai Eloheinu, Shalom, Elamidenu, Shumeinu Lechaim, Ufros Aleinu, O God of Israel, may our worship on this day help us to grow in loyalty to our covenant with you and to the way of life it demands, the way of gentleness and justice, the path of truth and peace. The people of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, observing the Sabbath in every generation as a covenant for all time. It is a sign forever between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days God made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day God rested. Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Ve'anora, El Elyon, Gomel Chazadim Tovim, Lechonei Hakol, V'zocher Chazdei Avot, Ve'imahot, U'mevii Geula, L'fnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo, V'yahava, Melech Hoser, U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'etrat Sarah, Atagibu leolam Adonai, Mechayeh kol ata, Rav lehoshia, Ma'ashiv haruach u'marid hagashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somek noflim berofei cholim, Uma'atir asurim, Umachayim emunato lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al givurot, Umidahu melach melech nenit, Umachaye umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'emanata lechayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai mechayei hakol. Please read together. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, God of our fathers and mothers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob, God of Sarah, God of Rebekah, God of Rachel, and God of Leah. Great, mighty, and awesome God, transcendent God, who bestows loving kindness, creates everything out of love, remembers the love of our fathers and mothers, and brings redemption to their children's children for the sake of the divine name, sovereign, deliverer, helper, and shield. Blessed are you, Adonai, Sarah's helper, and Abraham's shield. You are forever mighty, Adonai. You give life to all through great compassion, supporting the fallen, healing the sick, freeing the captive, keeping faith with those who sleep in the dust. Sovereign who takes and gives life, causing deliverance to spring up and faithfully giving life to all. Blessed are you, Adonai, who gives life to all. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom, l'aleluka selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Grant abundant peace to Israel, your people, forever. For you are the sovereign God of all peace. May it be a blessing to you to bless your people Israel in every season and moment with your peace. For the good in us, which calls us to a better life, we give thanks. For the strength to improve the world with our hearts and our hands, we offer praise. For the desire in us that leads us to work for peace, we are grateful. For life and nature, harmony and beauty, for the hope of tomorrow, all praise to the source of being. Be gracious, eternal God, to your people Israel, and receive our prayers with love. May our worship always be acceptable to you. Fill us with the knowledge that you are near to all who seek you in truth. Let our eyes behold your presence in our midst, and in the midst of our people in Zion. We praise you, God, whose presence gives life to Zion and to all Israel. Ritzei, Ritzei, Adonai Eloheinu. Ritzei, Ritzei, Adonai Eloheinu ve'amcha Yisrael. Utahi l'ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. Hilkarov l'kol korav b'nei al avadecha v'choneinu v'choneinu. Shafo ruchacha Alleluia.
Hallelujah.
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 Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Let's select drama. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Let's select drama. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Grant abundant peace to Israel, your people forever. For you are the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people, Israel, in every season and moment with your peace. Shalom Rav Israel Amkafei Yaakov Yoshveda. Shalom Rav Israel Amkafei Leolam. Ki Atam Melech Adon Lechol Shalom. Ki Atam Melech Adon Lechol Shalom. Shalom Rav Israel Amkafei Yaakov Yoshveda. Leolam Rav Israel Amkafei Leolam. Tobeanecha lebarech Elcha Yisrael. Bechol et ubechol shana nishtamecha. Shalom Rav Israel Amkafei Yaakov Yoshveda. Shalom Rav Israel Amkafei Leolam. It's natural to be frightened when we or someone we love becomes ill. We feel vulnerable, we worry, we want everything to turn out all right. No one can understand exactly how we feel. Prayer has the power to transform fear into faith. It reminds us that we are never alone. Everything we are, body and soul, is in the hand of God, whose presence fills the universe and who is as close as our very own breath. God comforts our fears as we pray the prayer of healing, the Misha Beirach. During the Misha Beirach, we ask God's blessing and protection. We ask to be rescued from any trouble or distress, and we ask for healing for others and for ourselves. This evening, we ask for healing for Jay Thomas, Dr. Dave Zolik, Tom Oldag, Harriet Krell, Dr. Robert Goldberg, Erwin Neiman, Gary Henderson, Michael Zielinski, Sheldon Pollock, Jeffrey Berger, Karen Stone, Ada Milbergs, Aaliyah Klein, Gordon Davies, Ann Fontaine, Lori Wolf, Eric Miller, Bill Zielinski, Ruth Ruskin, Amy Hirsch, Joe Scott, Chandler Zimmett, Ella Knuckle, Fran Olick, and Sandra Epstein. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob, Leah, and Rachel, grant insight to those who bring healing, courage, and faith to those who are sick and in need, and bring strength to all of them. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit, and let us say, Amen. Amen. Please join us now in singing the Misha Beirach. Misha Beirach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Beirach Imotenu Mikor HaBracha Yavotenu. Let us be appealing with the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Why should I wish to see God better than this day? I see something of God in each hour of the 24, in each moment. Then in the faces of men and women, I see God, and in my own face in the glass. I find letters from God dropped in the street, and everyone is signed by God's name. And I leave them where they are, for I know that wheresoever I go, others will punctually come forever and ever. Please take a moment now for silent prayer and meditation. Of temptations of my heart be acceptable unto you, O God, my rock and my Oh, say shalom bimrocha. Oh, yeah, say shalom aleinu. Ve'akol Yisrael. Ve'imru amen. Yeah, say shalom. Yeah, say shalom. Shalom aleinu, Yaakov Israel. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh 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 shalom, shalom aleinu. V'yakol Yisrael. A prayer for Israel. O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Shalom, Shalom Yerushalayim. Shalom, Shalom Yerushalayim. Shalom, Shalom Yerushalayim. Shalom, Shalom Yerushalayim. Shalom, 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 Shalom Yerushalayim. Pray for the peace of Israel. Pray for the peace of Israel. Pray for the peace of Israel. Israel shall live in peace. Once there was a king. He was a good king, a wise king. He led his people with honesty and integrity. With fairness, he controlled the Senate, the Trade Commission, and the military. There was, however, one thing that the good king could not control. His daughter, the princess. She was hard-headed and spoiled. Even the general in charge of his army ran at the very sight of her. The king relented to her every wish, a new dress, a new doll, a pony, a cart for the pony. Whatever she demanded, she got, just so there would be peace in the palace. One late autumn day, the princess ran to her father with a new demand. I want to see God. I want to see God right now. If I can't see God, I'll hold my breath and turn until I turn blue. The king, dumbfounded, said, my darling, I can give you whatever your heart desires, but this is not in my power to give you. The princess narrowed her eyes and drew in a deep breath. All right, I'll summon the rabbi. You'll get to see God. Now the rabbi had dealt with the princess before, but the king's orders were the king's orders. So the rabbi met with the princess. I want to see God, she said. A thoughtful look came over the rabbi's face, and with the slightest hint of a smile, he said, very well, princess. Get your cloak. I'll take you to see God. So the princess and the rabbi left the palace. They went through the giant gates of the palace courtyard. The princess had never left the palace grounds before, and her eyes were wide with amazement. She pulled her cloak around her even tighter in the crisp autumn air and watched as she and the rabbi walked through the streets of the village. At first, the houses and the shops along the winding streets were tidy and welcoming. The people that they passed waved and smiled. But as they walked farther from the palace, the streets began to change. No longer lovely and colorful, they now were dark and in disrepair. The people they passed didn't smile now or wave. They kept their heads down, some carrying heavy bundles of wood or bags of laundry. I want to go home, said the princess. I thought you wanted to see God, said the rabbi. Finally, the rabbi stopped in front of a small, dark house. They went up to the front door, and the rabbi pushed it open. The room was dark. The windows had been boarded up. No lantern glowed, no fire in the fireplace, and it took a moment for the princess's eyes to adjust, and then she saw it. In the corner of the room was a small bed, and in the bed was a thin, frail girl. Who are you? Demanded the princess. The young girl coughed, and in a voice so small the princess could hardly hear her, she said, my name is Sarah. It's the middle of the day. Why are you in bed? Said the princess. I'm sick, replied Sarah. Well, call a doctor. We don't have a doctor. A doctor costs money. Well, said the princess, you're sick because it's so cold in here. We can't afford firewood. You need chicken soup and you need some light in here. The princess was getting very upset. We have no food and our windows are broken. Oh, this is ridiculous, said the princess. Look, I'll be right back. The princess grabbed the rabbi's hand and practically pulled him out of the house and down the street back to the palace. When they got back to the palace, the princess hitched her pony to the cart and filled it to the top with food and blankets and firewood. She ordered the palace physician to tend to Sarah. She even gave the royal carpenters instructions on replacing Sarah's windows and fixing her house. Each day, the princess visited Sarah. Each day, Sarah's condition improved. One morning, as the princess was about to leave in her cart with supplies in her cart to go to Sarah's house, the rabbi called out after her, Princess, he said, wait. I thought you wanted to see God. The princess pulled the reins and stopped the cart. The rabbi ran up to her. He reached into his robe and he held a mirror to the princess's face. Our Torah portion this evening is Yitro. It's named for Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, who arrives at the Israelite camp, bringing Zipporah, Moses' wife, and their 2 sons with him. Jethro observes Moses in his function as a judge, and Jethro advises Moses that instead of trying to judge and counsel everyone by himself, he should share the responsibility with honored and trusted members of the tribe. This advice Moses takes. This is the first part of the Torah portion, but like so many Torah portions, I'm not sure that Yitro is an appropriate name, because 3 moons after Jethro's arrival, this parsha tells us of the giving of the 10 commandments at Mount Sinai. The story of Jethro's arrival is the first part of the Torah portion, and hence it's named Yitro, but it's the second part of the parsha that I believe is nameworthy. It's the second part that is one of the most important events in Jewish history. 10 weeks after the deliverance from slavery, the people find themselves encamped before the holy mountain. The exodus from Egypt marks the birth of Israel as a physical nation. What will be experienced at Sinai will make Israel a spiritual nation. Unlike any other, the most important event in Jewish history. But this was also a moment that was filled with mystery. The people of Israel stood at the bottom of the mountain. They not only saw flames and smoke rising from it, but they heard the blare of horns and they felt the whole mountain tremble violently. The people were so frightened that they stayed below while Aaron and Moses climbed to the top. When Moses descended, he presented the 10 commandments to the Israelites. From that moment on, Jews have asked the question, what happened at Mount Sinai? Was the complete Torah given to Moses, or only some to be later filled in by the rabbis? Was God's voice one, or was God's voice many? According to ancient tradition, when the Israelites stood at Mount Sinai, God appeared to them as a mirror, perhaps reflecting back to us the truth about ourselves, or perhaps to see ourselves as humans with a purpose, humans who can do what God expects from us, fulfilling our possibilities and our responsibilities. Listen to what God says to Moses on Mount Sinai. This is what you say to the house of Jacob and tell the children of Israel. You've seen what I did to Egypt, and I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to me. And now you'll listen to my voice and you'll observe my covenant. Then you'll be a treasure to me out of all the people, because all the earth is mine, and you'll be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation to me. These are the words that you shall speak to the children of Israel. Moses was chosen, but we were chosen too. Each and every one of us is created in the divine image. All of us can be holy through imitating God and the quintessential covenantal experience at Sinai. At Sinai, God established us as a kingdom of priests, a holy nation. One Saturday morning at services, Rabbi Herman said something that touched me so deeply that after services, I went up to him to thank him for his meaningful message. And I asked him if he would be kind enough to repeat what really stood out to me. He found a piece of paper and he wrote this down. A woman once stood before God, her heart breaking from the pain and injustice in the world. Dear God, she said, look at all the suffering, the anguish, the distress in your world. Why don't you send help? And God responded, I did. I sent you. Shabbat Shalom. In a cloud of fire and smoke, a mighty voice of thunder broke as God descended to the mountain top. High above Mount Sinai, God gave the rules we should live by, as God gave us the shalls and the shall nots. Number one, we've just begun. judges aren't nice. Number 3, God's name should be never spoken in jest. Number 4, Shabbat is for our worship and our rest. Number 5, we all should strive to honor father and mother. Number 6, don't get your kicks from killing one another. Number 7, life is heaven when you're true to your mate. Number 8, don't steal or break this rule for anyone's sake. The perfect 10, the perfect 10. They're just as true as they were way back when God gave the perfect 10. The perfect 10. God gave the perfect 10. Number 9, don't be the kind who goes around telling lies. Number 10, don't covet when you see your neighbor's house or wife. That's the list that God insists we stay away from these sins. That is why we memorize commandments 1 through 10. The perfect 10, the perfect 10. They're just as true as they were way back when God gave the perfect 10. The perfect 10. God gave the perfect 10. We sing the Aleno close to the end of every service. This prayer expresses our hope that the world will be better than it is today, that evil will be driven from the world, and that all of humanity will be united and at peace. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision or grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death, all revere all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in all the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love we are comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine onto our souls. Cause your light to shine onto our hearts and fill our spirits with abundant trust in you. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed from this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. We remember them. We meditate on the meaning of love and loss, on life and death. We recall the loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have taken into our hearts as our own. This week, we remember the yahrzeits of Marshall Arnold, Jean Blatt, Larry Cohen, Jenny Doctor, Howard Feldman, Estelle Foreman, Mitchell Goldenberg, Helen Meadow, Sophie Yampulski Ruskin, Betty Schwab. And this Shabbat in Shloshim, we honor the memory of Don Martinchek. The memories of all of them are with us. Our griefs and sympathies are mingled as we turn to words sanctified by the memory, words glorified by hope. The Kaddish proclaims the greatness, holiness, and eternity of God. It expresses a wish that the harmony of the heavenly spheres guides us here below as it does above and leads us to harmony in our lives. Please join me now in reading the Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah v'yalma divra chiruteh v'yamlich melchuteh v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye techol Beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'yimaru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam al me'almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu le'ela mimkol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata ta'amiran bi'alma v'yimaru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. Oseh shalom b'maromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. And now we'll hear from our president, Charles, with announcements and comments.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I want to thank Jane and Peter and Alla for conducting services, and Fran Alec for lighting the Shabbat candles this week. Next week, our services are going to be at the UU on Shabbat morning at 10 o'clock. We will have a Torah service then. It'll be outdoors since Omicron's kind of raging, as we all know. And then after that, for February, until the end of February, everything will be on Zoom. And the board will revisit when we'll be able to go back to in person, depending on what happens with COVID. Due to the events of last week down in Texas, there has been very much of a heightened awareness of security for Jewish organizations around the entire country and possibly around the world. To that end, the Federation is starting up a program of doing more safety things for Jewish organizations. And I and a number of the other people in the board will be attending a Zoom meeting on the 27th to talk more about security and training. Those who were in Texas had gotten this training. And because of this training is what they attribute to the fact that they were able to survive the being taken hostage. So it probably would behoove us to do the training as well, even though we don't have our own place and we can't make any modifications to it, but there are probably still things that we can do to make sure that we stay safe. So stay safe, stay well, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. The seventh day is consecrated to Adonai, our God. With wine, our symbol of joy, we celebrate this day and its holiness. We give thanks for all our blessings, for life and health, for work and rest, for home and love and friendship. On Shabbat, eternal sign of creation, we remember that we are created in the divine image. We therefore raise the cup in thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei parim v'gaden. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzah lanu, b'shabbat kadisho, Yahweh u'ratzon, himli lanu, zikaron, v'ma'aseh v'reishit, kiruyot tefillah, v'mikra'ei kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Tivanu v'chata, yotanu vidata, mikol ha'amrim, b'shabbat adshecha, be'ahava u'v'ratzon, gemchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, v'kadesh ha'amat. Amen. L'chaim. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as a joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hanotze lachem min haaretz. Amen. May all of the gifts hidden inside of us find their way into the world. May all the kindness of our thoughts be expressed in our deeds. May all of our learning lead to wisdom. May all of our efforts lead to success. May all the love in our hearts be returned to us. May God bless our bodies with health and our souls with joy. May God watch over us night and day and protect us from harm. May all of our prayers be answered. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless us and keep us. Ye'er Adonai panav alecha v'chunecha. May God's light shine upon us and be gracious to us. Yisa Adonai panav alecha v'yasim lecha shalom. May you feel God's presence within. May we feel God's presence within us always, and may we find peace. Please join us in the singing of our final hymn this evening, Ein Keloheinu. Moshiach, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshiach. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshiach. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you, Allah. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Charles. Thank you.